4, 3, 2, 1. I told you before to be careful where you put your legs.
I was only trying to be helpful.
I could help myself. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on.
For 7 decades, Michael Caine has been among the world's most renowned and recognisable actors.
It was just what I needed. A 1-inch god with a 2-inch penis.
The star of classics like Zulu, The Man Who Would Be King, and The Cider House Rules.
It's a miracle no one was killed.
But also films that brought his career to the brink of complete implosion.
I made a mistake.
Somehow, he has always found a way back.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape. With me, it's a full-time job.
In this epic podcast series, we will watch and review every Michael Caine movie, from the greatest hits
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
to the incredible misses,
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.
and take a deep dive into the life and work of one of the world's most recognisable film stars.
His name is Michael Caine, and no one will forget his name.
To understand how he has made the mark of Caine.
Well, you all settled in? Right, we can begin. For God's sake, come in.
Hello and welcome to the Mark of Caine, our ongoing tour of duty through the films of Michael Caine, watching every good, bad and indifferent movie that make up one of the most eclectic collections in the history of modern cinema. My name is Michael Foley and I'm joined as always by Stephen Black. He's battle-scarred and traumatised. I'd say today's movie for you might have been, what's the expression I'm looking for? Something that's like one too many, or like a pint too much, or a wafer thin mint over the top. What's the phrase I'm looking for?
An endurance test.
Yes.
An endurance test of my patience.
Yeah.
My love of cinema, basically.
Really? That fundamental?
Yes.
Wow.
Fundamental. Everything I hate about a movie is in this movie.
Get out of town. And everything I like in a movie is in this movie. My God.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Does that mean we do really badly on the Mr. and Mrs. show?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what that is. But I'm going to agree with you. I'm yes-anding you again. We've talked about this, the importance of comedic back and forth and riffing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yes-and you.
The Mr. and Mrs. show is the one where the husband and wife are on, and they're asked. One goes into a soundproof booth, and the other one answers questions about them, kind of personal questions that they should know the answers to. Are you aware of this show? You're not aware of this.
I didn't know that's what it was called. Great analogy.
Go on. Yeah, I don't know. I have to. This is a film. A Bridge Too Far, by the way, is the film we're doing today. A film that was pretty well hammered at the time.
I could have actually done with being pretty fucking hammered at the time I was watching this. Unfortunately, that would have required maybe drinking over 3 or 4 consecutive days, because that's how long it took me to get through this.
Yeah, this is not your wheelhouse. This is absolutely.
This is pretty much this is me,
though.
like a child, a stubborn child who's been told dinner in the evening, you finish those vegetables, otherwise you're not going to bed. So this is me basically alone in the dark with a cold plate of fucking broccoli in front of me, going, no, not doing it.
And the thing is, like, you know, this is a Michael Caine podcast, and it must have just appalled you to realise as the movie is going on that Caine is barely in this.
This is pure cameo porn. It doesn't matter what's going on here. It's look, it's your man from the thing. Oh look, it's the other guy from that thing. And Michael Caine is just one in the cavalcade of people. Oh, I know him from that. Oh God, now he's gone.
You could have written these lines in the back of a fag packet, like.
Yeah.
I'd say he's about 6 lines. No, this is absolutely my wheelhouse. Epic war movie, great stuff, not yours. I think I probably gained about a stone eating biscuits and just sipping tea, watching this one, just kind of luxuriating in it, you know. It was grand. That was nice, very nice.
Yeah, I feel this is going to be an opportunity for you to monologue about this movie, because I'm just like done.
No, we try and keep it to a minute. We're going to have to be focused on this now, because this is Caine based, right? Like maybe I can do a breakout Maybe I can do a breakout Bridge Too Far podcast or something like that. Maybe that might be a thing.
Yeah, maybe that'll hopefully prove as popular as this one.
Right. Anyway, let's get stuck into this. All right. This is a movie of such scope and ambition and size. It even makes Our Man Caine look very small, right? It's $26 million of your $26 million, by the way, of your $1977 this cost. Or apparently some people say it was $45 million, but anyway, we'll somewhere in the middle of all that. There's 14 major stars, 7 Oscar winners, and 5 other nominees. Richard Attenborough has directed, darling, such a dearie. Joseph E. Levine fulfilling a deathbed promise, no less, to Cornelius Ryan, the author of the book that inspired this epic.
Oh, most worthless of all promises to fulfill. Who's going to know? They're the best ones to say you're going to keep. I don't worry, I'll do that for you.
No
chance, boy. Oh, yeah.
Levine was true to his word. He got the picture made. So now, listen, boil the kettle, make toilet, settle in, and get comfy for a bridge.
Make toilet. It's not enough to make toilet. You need to get a fucking colostomy bag.
I'm going to have to do that last bit again. So boil the kettle, make toilet, settle in.
Get a colostomy bag inserted. Because at our age, there's a couple of toilets that need to be made during this fucking thing.
And get comfy for a bridge too far.
We've paid for that bridge and we're going to collect.
We're going to fly 35,000 men 300 miles and drop them behind enemy lines. It'll be the largest airborne operation ever mounted. Quite frankly, this kind of thing's never been attempted before. We shall seize the bridges, it's all a question of bridges, with thunderclap surprise, and hold them until they can be secured. And we go next Sunday.
7 days.
The sooner we go, the better. We've got them on the run.
Joseph E. Levine presents A Bridge Too Far. Based on Cornelius Ryan's international bestseller. The story of the most dramatic and devastating battle of World War II.
The plan is called Operation Market Garden. Market is the airborne element, and Garden the ground forces. I like to think of this as one of those American Western films.
All right. I asked you yesterday, okay, when I knew you were in the horrors, right, to think about this question. What character, there's like I said, there's 14 stars in this, right? What role would you assign to me? I know exactly who I'd assign to you, looking at the stars.
I would assign to you the role of whoever Dirk Bogarde was playing in this.
Browning, the kind of Field Marshal Montgomery's representative on Earth, yeah. Why?
Plowing on regardless of the evidence that proves that you should not be continuing on. And when all is said and done, still thinking that it was a good job.
Oh, yeah, I'm very good at that. It's like, that was fine.
That was fine. That was good. Yeah. Everyone's happy. No one died. Well,
no one died. Sean Connery, in his role as General Urquhart in this, at the very, very end, says, I went into Ireland with 10,000 men. I left with less than 2,000. And Browning, Dirk Bogarde's character, sitting back going, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. What's your problem? Yeah, that would be me. All right. Listen, get away home there, and we'll debrief next week. We'll see where we're at. I'll tell you who I would have had you as. Actually, the Caine role. To be honest, you're there in body, maybe not in spirit.
Major or General Tash Bastard.
Yeah, Major General Tash Bastard. Vandalay. Sounds like something of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
That's not who I identify as at all.
Well, let me explain why I'd identify you.
And I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough. That's what usually happens. You're there in body, and maybe not in spirit. You're throwing out the old dry one-liners. You're basically, your role is limited to standing on top of a tank or sleeping. There's actually, in this movie, in the middle of all the chaos, there's a scene of Caine asleep. Then
we have time for it. There's so much time.
We have so much time. Then you typically, when the shit hits the fan, you disappear off to the grand old country house, and then you're not seen again until all the top dogs are gathered together at the end to rake over what went wrong, and you're there like Pete Best, hanging on to the edge of a Beatle picture, taking a bit of not even taking the blame. That's why you're Vandalay.
Well, I'll tell you who I identify with anyway. And it's none of the stars. It's an Irish actor, actually, if I remember correctly. It's the young fella who tells Major Browning that keeps on going, this is going to be a disaster. Here's the evidence. And he ends up being sectioned and crying. So it's basically... So in this dynamic, I've told you this is not working. This is awful. Things are going to go absolutely terrible. And you've gone, no. I was like, no, here's the evidence. Look at these pictures. Yes, we're going to still carry on.
Yes.
And then I just start to weep silently, and I'm led off to be committed.
You must watch this movie. It'll be fine. No. 3 hours long? It can't be 3 hours long. Fuller. It can't be. No. It
starts off with what feels like a 25-minute I don't voiceover and stock footage. This is not a good way to start a movie. I don't even know who's doing the voiceover. Was it somebody famous? It's like you've got a cast of thousands, and it's somebody who's not in the cast doing the voiceover. You think you're paying this guy 250 grand a day? Might as well fucking work him like a fucking horse and get to the voiceover. No. Bloodless introduction, and then we're off, and we're like opening scene, and you got fucking young Harry Potter or fucking Dutch Curly Watts, fucking the Dutch resistance going around surveying the lay of the land, and you think, is he going to be some sort of fucking major player in this? The thing is, even if there was a character called major player in this, he would not be on screen for a very long fucking time. It's just goes hither, tither, and yon, back and forth. You go, who's he again? What's he doing?
Okay, let me just feel that, because we're not going to get too deep into this before we do the plot and all that crack. And by the way, I'm going to keep the plot really short. But the point of having all the stars, it's like Josephine Levine, right? Let me just finish.
I'm going to stop. I'll do the plot. There is an invasion planned. Both sides are told, things can go awry. The invasion happens. Things go awry. The end. That's it.
That's basically it. Yeah, that is essentially it. But just all right, just a second now. All right.
This is what happens when man says he wants to play the game of war. People die. That is my best. That's a better Polish accent than Gene Hackman managed to spunk off in this fucking movie.
I think to be fair, Gene Hackman's Polish accent as the head of the Polish force is a cry of help all on its own. You sense that Hackman knows that this is not going to end well, and the accent is manifested. The point of having all the stars, right? Josephine Levine, 400.
Every time you say that, I think you're saying Josephine Levine. Well, I just think, why would you name your daughter Josephine if your surname was Levine?
I don't know.
It's like Mark Bolan calling his child Roland.
Roland Bolan, I know. Yeah. Well, there you go. Joseph E. Levine, right? 491 movies this man was involved in the course of his career, either producing, directing, or financing.
That's the next podcast, so is it?
I tell you, we're on it. I'm already getting the list together. His thing was always, you spend the money on the director and the writer. He was not a star guy, but for this movie they had to have stars. Number one, to raise the money, so that's why you have the likes of Robert Redford in it. But also, to your point about getting lost, they reckon if you have really star recognizable people, you can follow them through the movie, through what is a very complicated plot, and they'll guide you through. So you can have 7 or 8 major storylines going on, and you can just go, that's Ryan O'Neill's storyline, that's Connery's storyline, there's Caine for 4 seconds asleep, there's Redford, there's Elliot Gould, there's James Caan, and Anthony Hopkins, and you get to the end, and it's all that's the idea. Didn't work for you, obviously. It didn't work,
but it doesn't work because, again, just because you recognize the story, you have to remember what is it that they're doing here now at this stage. Yeah. I'm trying to remember, and there's just so much unnecessary shit in this. The Elliot Gould does not need to be in this movie. His whole plotline is superfluous to it. It could not have happened, did not need to be there, and he's terrible. Elliot Gould is not a tough guy. You can see the difference between being Elliot Gould has more lines, I think, than Robert Redford in this. Robert Redford makes more of an impact in this movie within 5 seconds of being on screen. Because you know who Robert Redford, he's a leader, he's a guy who inspires confidence. Elliot Gould just looks like a schmuck. And trying to come off it like it's just not in his wheelhouse. He's completely miscast. Jimmy Caine, again, were we to assume the injured soldier he goes, is there a kind of an undercurrent that might have been his boyfriend or something that he was, what's going on there? Like,
let's just put some meat on the bones of this, right? So you want to talk with James Caan. So back to Elliot Gould just for 1 second, right? Yeah. So Elliot Gould is a cigar chomping composite character. It needs to be said that a lot of A Bridge Too Far, they historically very, very accurate. The portrayal of some of the characters bit ropey here and there. Elliot Gould's character is a composite guy. He's a cigar chomping American colonel or something, and he's there, and they have to build this bridge because the Germans have blown up one of these very important bridges. So he has one little interaction with Caine, but maybe we'll come to that in a second. But James Caan actually had a choice of roles in this. He was given a choice of different characters to play, and he chose this particular one. It's a true story. What this happened. So essentially, he's before they're dropped into Holland for this operation. He befriends this guy before they all jet off, who says, basically, look after me. And he says, yeah, I will, yeah. So then he finds him. He's been what looks like mortally wounded. He brings him along, brings him to a surgeon, at gunpoint forces the guy to treat him, saves his life, and gets court-martialed for 10 seconds for pulling a gun on a surgeon, and off he goes. And that's the last you see of James Caan. I think it's a rare good choice by James Caan in terms of a role. He passed up so many in his career that could have really put his career somewhere else. But I thought that was a good little story. It was a little kind of diversion storyline.
What point? What's the point?
Just humanises it. It brings it down to a level.
But sure, it doesn't
bit of action.
It's
a bit of action in the middle of it.
It doesn't really humanize him, because again, he's not a main character. This is like, oh, there's James Caan, and you never see him again. There's no through point on this. There's I'm trying to think of the character that you're introduced from the beginning, who you stay with, who stays the length of the film and has an arc,
Connery,
a proper arc within the movie. Connery, but even still, it's like there's no. I don't even get that sense from Connery. I know Connery is the de facto leader, but even still, he's given so little to do. Does a little running from point A to point B. Doesn't get anything you'd call being an outstanding scene in this. There's no real meat for Connery to get to get his teeth into here.
Yeah.
Like Hopkins gets more. I think Hopkins gets more to do. Hopkins, I wouldn't have thought is even a name in 1977.
He would have had a bit of. I mean, he wouldn't have been as big as the others, but he would have been coming good, as they say. Right? Like, look, this is the fundamental criticism of A Bridge Too Far, is that it doesn't have a solid. Like, the storyline is Operation Market Garden, the operation, and then the portrayal of it, and then you have all these little, I suppose, if you want to call them vignettes, if you like, that are kind of putting the meat on the bones of what the operation was like for the ordinary soldier, what it was like for the. It works. It doesn't for most people, and for the critics, it certainly didn't work at the time. It didn't do much box office. I think it's aged well. I enjoy it because it's just I can follow it. I can just go with it. I'm happy to go with it. But look, let me just get you very quickly the plot, right? It's not going to be much longer than your version of it, right? So essentially, A Bridge Too Far. It's September 1944. The Allied commanders were in a race to make Berlin end the war, take the glory, etc. So Field Marshal Montgomery on the British side decided, let's just basically drop a load of guys into Holland, grab a bunch of bridges that'll basically open the road all the way to Berlin. Operation Market Garden, it was called. It went wrong from the very beginning. The Germans strengthened the area was way more than what they thought it was. Air reconnaissance evidence that showed this, ignored. Radios don't work. The road they have to drive on is too narrow. It's a disaster. The Germans are fighting like demons, and lads are getting dropped miles from where they need to be. It's a total mess. And as we're talking here, as we're kind of talking about here, there's lots of intertwining storylines about how it's going wrong everywhere. And it kind of ends up really as a lesson in hubris and arrogance, not just poor planning, but just blind disregard for the clear evidence that this master plan was never going to work. But there we are. What do you think, just to focus on our man for a second, the Caine performance? I put the clock on him. This is the shortest appearance yet in a flick that we've watched. I would say about 7 minutes he's in it for, of 3 hours.
Oh, was that short movie that we watched, the silent movie that we watched, where he's just him as a ginger Jerry Adams driving past? Yeah. That was. I think that's probably the shortest one.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's why I resent you so much for this. Like, because again, we'll be doing later on what we call kind of cameo Caine, where we're bucketing up things like his Nolan cameos maybe into one podcast. But again, this is like a delicious amuse-bouche way in the future, while I'm currently again in the dark, fucking with my fork playing with a bunch of cold broccoli. So yeah, not much point talking about that now. So yeah, that's why I resent you so much for making me watch this.
Resent Caine. It's not me making you watch it. It's on the list. It's fine. It'll be fine. Just watch it. It'll be fine. You'll find something in it. It's almost impossible to rate his performance actually, because what he has to do,
he does funny.
He just
says the lines. He says the lines. He's got the bastard moustache.
Yeah.
He interacts with other people. That's it.
He plays. His character is in charge of the Irish Guards. Basically, their job is to flake their tanks up the road once they get there, and
to ignore 999 calls.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. The real Joe Vandeleur was on set. He was one of the advisors, and he was quite happy with Caine's performance. Anyway, he did change one thing. William Goldman wrote the script, which I know you have issues with, which we'll get to in a second. He did change it. So Caine's line when the tanks were ready to go was meant to be charge, big dramatic charge. And Vandeleur just whispered in his ear and said, no, we wouldn't have said it like that. We just said, let's get moving, which is exactly what did. He just said, right, let's get moving. And off they went. But as I say, you didn't fancy the script at all from Goldman. You did not like this.
William Goldman is a genius. He's written some of the scripts for some of my favorite movies: Marathon Man, Princess Bride, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He's got great chops, but a lot like Caine, he's got a hit and miss rate. Let's put it that way. And this is definitely the miss category. There's like brief glimpses of his talent for dialogue in here. But I mean, it's like reading his books. You got about the importance of story over things. Because there is no story here, and he doesn't manage to tell one in the script. Now, whether or not, like, he's usually, as he said, the script could be potentially butchered in order to make it fit what Dickie Attenborough and Levine wanted. But ultimately, when it up on screen, like there's some awful ham-fisted dialogue here. The only time I think I laughed was the interaction between the surgeon and Jimmy Caine. And the rest of it, like there's an interaction between Ryan O'Neill and Robert Redford. Now, Robert Redford is an inferior to Ryan O'Neill's superior.
Yes.
And Ryan O'Neill is 4 years younger than Robert Redford. So it's a very odd dynamic that they've set up there.
It's a true dynamic, though, it has to be said, because Ryan O'Neill's character, the general, he was the youngest general. He was 37, I think, or something like that. So
that's not referenced.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but it's just, go on.
You think they would have made a point at that? That would have been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's coming along, and this is where we're introduced to Redford, shining like so handsome. So handsome. Just it's like that bit in the Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy's house lands in Oz, and she opens the door and goes from the sepia-toned world of Kansas into the Technicolor scheme of Oz, Munchkin Land, blah blah blah. It's like that's like that when Redford walks on the screen.
It does.
But then he engages in this conversation with him, which is just, I've got an idea, but I'm going to need somebody who's got experience, somebody who's got brains, somebody who's as handsome as a Kansas cornfield on an autumn's day. But I need one more. And I want one more thing. Somebody who's dumb enough to do it. I was like, "Oh, that's the end." You know, kind of Robert. Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Can I say I'm not going to do it?
It's such.
It's so bad. It's such a bad. And I think part of it is down to Ryan O'Neill is fucking dreadful.
Oh, he's the weakest link of all the stars in the sky in this one. To be fair to William Goldman, and William Goldman I was accosted about this. So he's the dialogue, and particularly the British dialogue, right? They were under pressure, or Goldman in particular was under pressure from the get-go to get this. So once they decided they're going to make this movie, the heat was on to have a script by, I think, late summer, autumn 1976. Levine and Attenborough just started casting it and getting it all together before the script was even written. So Goldman was told, just get it on our desk by the time we start shooting, and we'll take care of the rest. So by his own admission, he would have if he had more time, gone and researched things and the kind of the way, particularly that the British Tommies would have talked and the kind of chat that it would have been. So he sort of excuses himself, absolves himself slightly on that one, and I think that's fair enough. But at the same time, some of it is incredibly leaden. And I mean, look, it's all glib one-liners.
It's glib, not good one-liners.
No, glib one-liners.
Just Connery Urquhart, when somebody says, "So I thought you were dead, sir," I just said that was That's the worst comeback. That was just an error.
Yeah. And even there's a line from Caine that
that's James Bond. Like James Bond should be given better fucking lines than that. It was an error.
You're right. I mean, and real Caine fans will appreciate. They have always enjoyed. There's a line where he's in the middle of all these celebrating Dutch people, and it's time to set off. And I think it's Edward Fox's character. He's his superior officer, commanding officer. Says, are you ready to go or something like that? And he says, well, I don't. Are you ready to push on and do this job or something like that? And he says, I don't have anything else planned today. So, and it's this kind of wonderful Caine-esque line. I'm just looking at it going, oh man, what a waste of talent, I mean, he's and it's funny, Caine was actually the last of the stars who was cast in a role. It's a good old yarn, this, actually. He was in LA and he
sorry, listeners, I'm just going to go do my taxes when you go through
this. Here's yarn number one. This is like McCartney doing Yesterday Now. The rest of the band have fecked off. God, no, it's not like McCartney doing Yesterday. Sorry, that was very arrogant. Anyway, basically he's in LA and he bumps into, in inverted commas, Richard Attenborough and Levine and Goldman in a restaurant while they're out there
www.mygov.ie. Okay, I'm just going to send me an authentication password for that.
All right. Sorry, no, you
yeah, no, I'll carry on. So Caine went over to the table and said, hey guys, listen, I'm hearing it, every actor in this town is in this picture, why not me? And to be fair, they gave him exactly the sort of role that you'd give someone in that situation. 7 minutes, as I say, 5 seconds of which was...
The LPT is self-assessed this year? What the fuck? All right, let's go and download this.
He came on set 2 days after finishing The Eagle Has Landed. He was in Holland for 10 days filming this thing. He said later that he spent the exact same amount of time filming Jaws, but he took all the blame for Jaws being shit. Yet no one said a word to him about A Bridge Too Far. So I don't know. Take
again, because well, yeah, but I mean, if memory serves, it's his name over the marquee for Jaws. It isn't his name over the marquee for this movie.
What are you talking about? He's top billing because it's all alphabetical order. Oh no, is he top billing? No, it's James Caan. Then is alphabetical. Anyway, he's up towards the top. He's up towards the top of the bill.
You're saying above cinemas now in the movie posters, It's going to be his name. It's not Redford's. It's going to be the biggest. The biggest box office star at the time. Down there at the bottom, but he's R. Sort of. This is this is not the case, sir.
No, it is not. It is not. Levine himself said that I think one of his Asian distributors, film distributors, if I will give you X amount of dollars for this film, but I will give you double X amount of dollars if you get Redford into this thing. There was a bit of a commotion over how much Redford got paid, because he was the biggest male film star in the world in 1977. Connery went on strike when he heard how much he was getting. I think, but I
fuck this shit. I'm shitting it down and I'm doing no more. There's a fucking Robert Redford comes on to shit. That concerning $2 million.
Redford made $2 million in the end of all of this, and I've tried.
Tell Dickie you can find me on the golf course.
Apparently they all agreed to a flat $250,000 a week. All the stars.
I love seeing that kind of coming together. That
isn't it just
arm in arm. Socialism at its best.
Socialism at its best. But Redford, I mean, best of all. So the famous river scene, which we might just touch on now in a second, right? So Redford's big scene is.
Oh, you'd like to touch on Redford, all right? Wouldn't you?
I have to say, 70s Redford is my ultimate man love. I mean, him and Xabi Alonso, who played for Liverpool in the noughties when around the time Liverpool won the Champions League against Milan. Those two are my listen. I am yours. Whatever I can do for you, to you, or with you. I will.
That's quite the sliding scale, isn't it?
Not at all. But yeah, Redford is extraordinary. He's a brilliant. I think he's a brilliant actor during this period. He's just perfect. He's just at his absolute peak. But the pressure anyway was on. There's this big river scene where he has to lead this group of Americans across to take the bridge from the other side, and it's a big, massive scene. Lots of explosions and all this, and they have to stop the river traffic. They stop the river traffic every Sunday to film on the river. So this particular Sunday, they have to nail this scene because Redford's contract is up the following Wednesday. And if they don't get it, they have to pay him $125,000 a day to stay on set till the following Sunday to nail it. So, like Goldman tells in his book, Goldman has a whole chapter on A Bridge Too Far in his autobiography. And it's just a brilliant story about Attenborough, just completely calm, darling. No problem, dear. That's fine, dear. but everybody's banging questions at him, and like he has to get, like, there are millions riding on this, and he is just answering all the questions really calmly. Roll camera. Do the corpses need to close their eyes? Yes, the corpses need to close their eyes, darling. They'll be in shot. All this stuff, nails it, saves them millions, and Redford can head off into the sunset. But the boat scene, again, we had a bit of a chat about this. You're not as crazy, but I think it's the best scene in the entire movie. Is the boat scene, and it's part not just because of the kind of the action element, but Redford's really excellent in it. But you're not so much of a fan.
My favorite scene of the movie is the initial assault by the Germans. Is it Nijmegen?
Nijmegen, you Philistine.
Sorry, I may join Mick Caine's Nigel Powers in my hatred of the Dutch. So, the initial assault then with Tony Hopkins, where they defeat the Germans in the British. That was my favorite scene. But the river scene's kind of meh. The usual kind of anonymous extras getting shot isn't more tragic. And Robert Redford saying "Hail Mary, full of grace" the first line of that over and over again.
Oh,
which
man.
Hail Mary, full of grace. Hail Mary, full of grace. Hail Mary.
I assume they meant it to be affecting, but it would have been more affecting if he was saying the entire prayer as he was going across, not repeating the same first line.
No. That reflects the stress. He couldn't even get past the first line. He was just like, "God, Jesus. Oh, Jesus." I can safely say it.
Fucking bad Catholic that allowed to say, "Do you know what? He deserved to die."
Okay, fair enough. You're very hard line on that. I can safely say I've never watched this movie a lot of times from childhood all the way up through. It's the one scene that always sticks with me.
That's you've only seen it once because that's how long the fucking movie is.
I've been watching it intermittently through my life just to get to the end of it. But I think it's magnificent. We're not going to get into this because it's an entire other podcast. I personally think that that river scene and when they get up out onto the beach and how it's directed and all the rest of it is a precursor to Spielberg with Saving Private Ryan, the opening scene, but I'm not going to go there, which I know you don't agree, and you'll take me apart, so I'm just going to move. Let's just move along. Quietly.
We'll move along.
Anything you want to touch on here? Like I could just go nuts on this, so I'm going to let you go.
What else did I want to say? There was again superfluous scenes with the. Oh God! There's again, because Attenborough or Goldman, whoever, feels that you have to every now and again insert a war is hell scene. Oh, man's inhumanity to man, blah blah blah. There's a scene where the wounded British are holed up in a I guess a Dutch stately home, whatever that is, and the lady of the house is there ministering to them, and it's like, oh, why couldn't they have one more day or whatever? And then she goes and kills a guy by reading poetry at him. Which, again, funniest scene of the film, actually. Sits down next to the soldier, opens a poetry book, and he immediately dies. I was like, but that would be my reaction as well. Yes, no thanks. I've had enough. This world is clearly too cruel for one like me. I've been shot 15 times, but this terrible turgid prose you're about to fucking read at me. No thanks. Goodbye,
cruel world. And the alternative interpretation of that scene would be Kate Horse, this wonderful woman who opens her doors and her house to all these. Okay.
Opens her doors and her house. You knew exactly what you were doing. Easy. This isn't fucking Carry On podcast to get on, Shep.
Who opens her house to all these wounded British soldiers. Kate Horse, who's obviously a real character who was still alive when they made the Bridge to Horse. Do you want to hear the word? Is she
in relation to Pat the Cope?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Here's the worst of it, right? So Kate the Horse's house gets destroyed during the battle.
What about her neighbours?
Yeah. This poor woman, she was a hero, absolute hero. So her house gets flattened during the battle or after the battle. Okay, so it's gone, right? But in 1976, they come along.
I understand the concept of a house getting flattened.
But listen to this. Listen to this. For accuracy, they rebuild the house for the purposes of the movie. Kate herself is on set, like giving advice and stuff. And they proceed to flatten the house again. Just to sort of relive the horror all over again.
That must have really taken the sheen off her winning the Grand National that year.
Laurence Olivier is a major star. Larry arrives. Would you like to hear how invested Larry was in the role? Let me tell you.
Financially.
Well, let me tell you, Stephen. I arrived on set wearing very, very scuffed up, rather shabby pair of black shoes, and Dickie Attenborough said, "Darling, why? What happened to your shoes?" Well, Dickie, let me tell you, in an effort to invest myself in the character of a doctor, a rural doctor who enjoys gardening, I've been gardening for 10 days in these shoes. Oh, darling, that is wonderful. That is so invested. We're so happy to have you here.
This is the same Larry Olivier, who tore fucking Dustin Hoffman to shreds for running around for about half an hour to work up a sweat for a scene in Marathon Man, and said to him, "Darling, why don't you just act?"
Exactly.
What a wanker.
That cannot be left unsaid. You're absolutely right. No, I would agree with that. There was an awful lot of war as hell bits in this that they're the bits that throw me. There's probably too much.
What's the other favourite one? Is the blood of a soldier. It drops on the rug of an innocent child playing with the toys. Hopefully the child will grow up in a world without war. He will enjoy his toys. And when there's time to become a man, he become a man. Not too early like it was for me. I joined up when I was 15. I lied and said I was 60. Now my mother will never see me again. What is hell?
Oh man, yeah. I also do not like that scene where they're coming into the house and blood spills and a little toy train falls over. Interesting. Just one last little fact.
No.
Am I lie?
Okay. You lie.
Dirk Bogarde was there. Bogarde was there. He actually fell out with Dickie Attenborough over the portrayal of Browning that appeared on screen. He worked as part of an intelligence attaché. An intelligence group from Montgomery. He was sent over with Brown, so he was actually at Arnhem. Dirk Bogarde was also at Belsen concentration camp when it was liberated. I did not know that, and that I have to say,
did he work there?
No, stop. He was there with the British force that liberated Belsen. Unbelievable. Hardy Kruger, the German actor who's also in this, was actually recruited as a child soldier around this time in the war as well. So there's a lot of bits and pieces. A lot of people bring a lot of stuff.
I don't think one is ever recruited as a child.
Yeah, well, you know, be press ganged into
press ganged.
But anyway, look, this is not a British
Tiny sniper. I like that little shot of Tiny Sniper.
You want to sing it? Shoot
a soldier, tiny sniper. Put the British in your crosshairs. Just this millisecond, fucking daft shit by Dickie Attenborough again. They're storming the beach there after crossing the river, Hail Marying themselves to fucking death. And then you see, drop snipers, and then cuts to a succession of 3 snipers shooting, 2 adults, and then this fucking 4-year-old with a helmet basically falling over his head to take a shot. And you're just going to go, Dickie, did you not think that would be fucking hilarious?
Yeah, we'll put the picture up. On the socials. I have said this. This is probably the most how would you put it? Most inappropriate stroke bridge too far conversation there's ever been, and probably all the better for that. No.
Plus now, we're going to have to pay Elton John like $2 million for fucking.
I know, idiot.
Royalties.
Anyway, it gets savaged by the critic. Siskel and Ebert wreck it. People just like no more than yourself. They just get kind of, it's a bit too long.
What did Dave Fanning think of it?
Probably the same as yourself. I don't know where this is going. What's happening to this? So it's just, I enjoy it because it's my kind of long-winded sort of thing that I can sit down on a rainy Sunday afternoon and get fat watching. But I appreciate. I wouldn't argue with anybody who doesn't take it. It's grand. I just love the ambition, and I Redford is at his peak, and I don't care how much they paid him. It wasn't half enough. Do we have anything else to add to this, or will we just go to marks for Caine?
We'll go to marks for Caine.
Okay, what are you giving him? Well, actually, what? Let me set the bar this time. You'll probably go underneath. I've been kind of struggling with this. I'm kind of going 5 or 6. I mean, he's in this for such a short space of time. Yeah. He has 5
or 6. You're docking him marks because he wanted to do this.
Yeah, he pleaded to do this. And he was the last guy. He was the last guy on the wagon who got in. Like, so it's all a bit. I don't know, maybe 5. Actually, with that, let's dock him a mark for begging. 5. He only has he has one scene with Edward Fox who won a BAFTA for this. It's the only award. It was completely ignored at the Oscars. You can imagine the mood around the place when they didn't get nominated for anything. He has one scene with Edward Fox. He has one scene with our man Elliot Gould. Of course, reunited from Harry and Walter. Not hectic. Not hectic. There is one other thing that we need to touch on, Stephen. Why 1977 was a significant
Is it Robert
year.
Redford's penis?
No, it is not.
Okay. Just checking.
But thanks for asking. He only makes one movie. Now, we know, given Caine's prolific output around this time, that one movie in a year is basically the equivalent of him pulling a sickie and just not, what the hell's going on? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Well, he had a little tax problem. That was the problem.
Oh, no.
1977, 78, very, very significant time. The Labour government in Britain was imposing a wealth tax on the highest earners, and Caine was staring at losing 82% of his annual earnings on tax. So his accountant basically called him in and said, Mick, you're broke. How many cheroots can you smoke? How many Fabergé eggs do you need in one bathroom? You got to stop. No, I know. Just imagine, Stephen, right? Put yourself in this position, right? You put yourself in Caine's mind, right? This man who was so acutely aware of making money, making a living, being so sort of paranoid only a few years earlier about that he might never get another job again, being told by his accountant, mate, you're broke, or you're going to be broke.
Yeah. I'd imagine, again, taking everything with a grain of salt, I would like to see the actual transcript of that conversation, because again, you're saying Mick Caine basically decided to go on tax exile because he didn't want to pay no taxes. So essentially, if I was doing that, I'd be doing as much as I could to make myself sympathetic, a sympathetic character here. I would say the likelihood of him being broke is probably close to being shag-all.
Oh, sure. Listen, I mean, there's broke and 82% of his earnings. So the 18% he would have been left would have been a big wedge. Now, look, as we know, he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only Brit who fled his shores at this time when this tax came in. But it was pure panic. There's a couple of things he did. So himself and Connery, first thing they did, they hit Allied artists with a lawsuit for profits from the man who will be king that they claimed they were owed. Now, this is, I think the Allied artists themselves at the time said there was accounting issues going back. So this was kind of a thing that was ongoing, but they hit them with the lawsuit around this time. Allied artists settled out of court. Don't know how much he got for it. But next thing, Caine takes the first gig going in the States, which will be our next movie called Silver Bears. Not sure how much the pay was, but it was pretty decent. He sells Mill House in Windsor, where he pruned his roses, and he cooked Sunday lunch every Sunday, and so many happy memories there. He sold it to Jimmy Page for £750,000. Again, late 70s, £750,000. All the roses gone, and he's away to Beverly Hills. 78, 79. Imagine. Caine.
Yes, if you're having money problems, the one place you go to is probably one of the most expensive places to buy real estate in the world.
Exactly. And equally, what kind of type of gap does he buy? This, cautious, price-conscious man who's recently been spooked by the tax man. Does he go bijou?
Modest 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, modest 2 up, 2 down. Just a little starter offer for himself and the missus and the kid. No. 5-bed, 6,000 square foot mansion with glass walls opening up to a 180-degree view of Los Angeles. So the shock.
Is it me? You have to walk around with your clothes on. What a pain in the fucking gig.
I know. He's got to throw the robe on. He's going to have to get the robes on again. That's a shame. Yeah, he bought it in Trousdale in Beverly Hills was the address. And if you're that bored like I was yesterday, you can actually find an overhead shot of the place. And to be honest with you, it looks like the Bin Laden compound or something. It's
I'm just laughing at the notion of a man with 4 children under the age of 7 being bored. I just imagine kids going, "Daddy, will you play with us?" No, I'm looking at something here. Daddy's doing a part from work.
Looking at an over.
Daddy, why is Mammy in the car again? Why is Mammy crying in the car? Stop. How do you spell Truesdale? There's some schoolwork for you. I'll tell you how to spell Truesdale.
I'm looking at an overhead shot of someone's house from 40, 50 years ago. Shush now, shush. Jeez, it looks like Bin Laden's gaff. It's just all flat and massive. He held on to the restaurant. Right.
This is all on you.
Yeah, he held on to the restaurant. He held on to the brasserie, which we haven't really touched on. His restaurant with Peter Langan, the mad chef, that was doing that became a bit of a fixture. By the way, I have to share this with you. I have to share this with you. So Langan is a drunk. Basically, he's a genius chef, but he's a drunk, and he is known for making a show of himself in the restaurant all the time. He goes under the restaurant tables and bites people's legs, and he kind of sprawls himself across tables,
Sure,
hammers.
this is a human being now, not a cocker spaniel.
No, this is a chef, right? Caine. Well, sorry. Let me start with what Peter Langan said about Caine as an actor. He said he's a mediocrity with halitosis who has a council house mind. Do you want to hear Caine's riposte?
You sure got me there.
You've got to. Peter, you got to listen to it. Imagine says Peter stumbles around in a cloud of his own vomit and is a complete social embarrassment. You would have a more interesting conversation with a cabbage.
How do you stumble around in a cloud of your own vomit? Vomit's not vapor.
This is how our minds work. That was the first thing I was drawn to as well. What's a cloud? What is a cloud of vomit?
Does he vaporize it first? Could it just spritz it like eau de cologne?
I don't know. Well, to give him some bit of juice, people at the time would have said he kind of played up that whole thing. But he certainly was. He certainly was an eccentric. But the press anyway savaged Caine when he left. Caine's tax mutiny. God, traitor. In 82, Caine said, if I'd stayed in England, I'd have had no money. You know what's worse than a tax problem? No tax problem. And I think that's actually a pretty fair summation of it, actually.
Yeah, I guess. At the same time, pay your fucking taxes.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, absolutely. That is it. But I think it's a bit of a key period for the man for all sorts of reasons, because he's number one, he's gone to America, but now he really is in that space where he's doing movies now just for the cash, just for the lifestyle. We are 2 movies away from The Swarm. So we're, Silver Bears, he does it for the cash. It's a totally, we're really moving into that space now. I don't know about you. I think that's kind of significant anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. He's got his mind on his money and his money on his mind. If I could quote the Bard. The only good thing about this is, yes, the quality may continue to, by God, the one thing about B movies is they're fucking short.
Yeah. You're going, I don't know how long Silver Bears is, but I'm betting that you're going to be able to fit probably 2 of his next movies into one bridge too far.
Oh, I will only have to make one toilet during it.
Oh, yes. Just the one. No need for the colostomy bag. So, yeah, next up, as we said, is Silver Bears. I saw a little bit of this one night, very late, on a movie channel, maybe, months ago. Caine looks very slim.
That's a great story. They should have fucking included that in A Bridge Too Far and had another 20 minutes onto it.
Yeah, this is my Norton material. Caine looks very...
It's more strictly Jonathan Ross now, to be honest with you.
No, Norton, primo Norton. Caine looks very slim and well in it, but he actually put it down to about a dysentery he got in Morocco. He wouldn't just say, yeah, I was looking well, all right. No, I got a dose of the shits on my holidays, and that's why I looked like I was on the actor diet again, 10 years after I was.
Just shit it out, dear. Shit it out.
God, poor Richard Attenborough. Jay Leno is in it.
What have we got here?
We have a proposition that involves more money than you could possibly ever have dreamed of.
Oh, I'm quite a dreamer.
We'll take a chance on it, should we have to? You'll be glad to be away from the fatigues anyway.
I'd be glad to get away from the fatigues, if not exactly away from the fatigue, if you know what I mean, Michael.
Very good. Well, let's see. Who knows?
Jay Leno. The only Jay Leno movie I've seen is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's him and Pat Morita from The Karate Kid.
Oh, yeah.
I think it might be called Detroit Steel or something like that, but it is god-awful, so...
Well, this is earlier in his career. Maybe he's a hungry young actor looking for a break, and he kind of puts his back into it a bit more than that one. Who knows? We're going to find out though. So come back next time. Silver Bears, A Bridge Too Far. Can I just say there's a wonderful documentary on YouTube about the making of A Bridge Too Far for all of you people like me who'd like to learn more.
And for the rest of you normal people, as usual, like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at MarkCaine2. Drop us some questions. Usual. We'll see you again next week for another bout of hilarity with the Silver Bears.
All right, see yous.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. Only nice ones, though. Mean comments will make Alfie cry, and no one wants to see that. The Michael Caine podcast is written, researched, and presented by Stephen Black and Michael Foley, and edited by Andrew Foley. Music is composed by Stephen Black. If you'd like to get in touch, you'll find us on Twitter at MarkCaine2. And if you enjoyed this episode, you'll find all the rest wherever you get your podcasts. The Mark of Caine is a Malin News 2 Cubes production. See you next time.